Use a bill of exchange to discharge debts. Last updated August 14, 2003. The material in this information packet is for educational purposes only and not to be construed as legal advice about what you should or should not do. The information herein is to assist you in performing your own due diligence before implementing any strategy. By using this material, you are agreeing that no particular result is guaranteed or implied. Some conventions used in this document. Throughout this file, you will see information presented in two different fonts and colors. Instruction pages will use the Arial, sans serif without curves, font and navy blue as the color. This page uses this font and color. The information on the instruction pages will be educational in nature and, most of the time, will contain instructions to follow or tasks to perform. Instructions will generally not be mixed with the document pages, but if it is necessary to mix them, the font and text color conventions will be followed. So, if there are instructions embedded in a document page or highlighted text, you will need to delete the instructions and remove the highlighting before printing the final version of the document page. Document, contacts, affidavits, etc. Pages use Times Roman, serif with curves, font and in black ink. You will customize the document pages and then do something with them, such as mail or record them. Please print preview your documents before you print them. This is especially important if you have substantial personal information you have added to a document, such as many other names. Also, some printers will not let you print closer to the margin than 0.55 inches. Feel free to adjust the margins if your printer will not accommodate the current spacing. Discharge debt. We suggest you be extremely judicious in the use of BOEs and only use a BOE if it is in conjunction with a conditional acceptance affidavit where the creditor must prove their claims before negotiating the BOE. We are working on strategies to deal with creditors who act as if your BOE is no good. As we gain further experience in these areas, we will make additional information available. The following is provided for your education. The purpose of this file is to create documents, bill of exchange, letter of advice, etc. that can be used to discharge debts. A bill of exchange, BOE, cannot be used to buy an item, car, house, stereo system, big screen TV, etc. A BOE can only be used to discharge pre-existing debts. At this point, we believe that some sort of loan would have to exist or credit used to purchase the item, and then a BOE can be used to discharge the loan. We say discharge rather than pay a debt because, since 1933, we have only had the ability to discharge a debt. The basis of all money in circulation in America since 1993 has been a Federal Reserve note. A note is a debt instrument, a promise to pay. Common sense tells you that you can't pay a debt with a debt, a Federal Reserve note, or any other promise to pay. Foundation of our ability to discharge a debt using a BOE is House Joint Resolution 192 of June 5, 1993. If you are not familiar with this legislation, you should study it thoroughly. How creditors respond to BOEs. The most frequent question in the mind of anyone who wants to use a BOE is how will the creditors respond? First, we should say that we don't know of a single instance in which anyone has gone to prison for issuing a properly executed BOE. But we must also say that in many cases, creditors pretend they don't know what a BOE is or are not going to like receiving your BOE and will likely accept your BOE and pretend they didn't receive it, not processing them or act dishonorably. Before elaborating on this point, let's explain why I use the term creditors in quotes. We believe that we, as living souls, are ultimately the source of all credit. This being the case, we, the people, are the ultimate creditors, and those whom we have called creditors in the past are really just fictional organizations, persons created by the government to whom we issue some our credit. We've said that the creditor, in most cases, won't like your BOE. This is because they have been accustomed to receiving a lot of interest and principal payments on loans they made to us by lending us our own credit. Said another way, they have pretended to loan us money, then ask us to pay back the principal with interest when, in fact, they loaned us nothing from their own assets. When we use the BOE to discharge the purported debt, we cut off their supply of all the profits that they think they deserve. At this stage in the use of BOEs, it is hard to predict exactly how a creditor will respond, but you need to be prepared for the possibility that they will act as if you have never paid them. If you are discharging credit card debt, they may close or cancel the account, turn your account over to a collection agency, and put negative information on your credit report. None of this means that your BOE was invalid, illegal, or fraudulent. It just means they don't like it. Your first and most important decision will be to answer this question within yourself. Did my BOE really discharge the debt? When you can answer this in the affirmative, then you will have taken a major step. We would also suggest that the answer should be yes. Let's use an example to illustrate this point. Let's say you owed someone $100 and that you sent them $100 to discharge the debt, but then they acted as if the debt was still owed. In this case, was the debt discharged? Assuming they received the money, then the answer should be yes. The only question remaining in your mind should be, is the BOE a good instrument? If you aren't comfortable that is not only good but also valid, then you should not use a BOE. At this stage, we will suggest only using BOEs on unsecured debt, such as credit cards, and we recommend you issue BOEs in conjunction with a conditional acceptance affidavit, where they must prove their claims before negotiating the BOE through a notarial protest. Ask us about the honor-dishonor program. If you were to try to use a BOE on a secured debt, like a car, the creditor may very well have someone repossess, steal the car. So be cautious as you decide if you will use BOEs and on what type of debts. We are working on strategies to deal with creditors who act as if your BOE is no good. As we gain further experience in these areas, we will make additional information available. Creditors who don't accept recognized BOEs. It is quite possible that the creditor will continue to send you presentments that reflect that the BOE payment was never posted. It is also possible that they will either not answer your notice of error or will not provide adequate proof for their position. If either of these things occurs, you will need to take some additional steps. We suggest the following steps. First step, send the creditor a conditional acceptance affidavit. If the creditor does not respond to this appropriately, you will need to do the second step, notarial protest. These two steps are bundled in a notarial protest product. Ask the person who told you about the redemption information to give you further information. The notarial protest will result in certificate of dishonor against the creditor. The certificate of dishonor can be used to help clear any negative information the creditor puts on your credit report and may be used in court proceedings. We will be looking for a credit repair service to assist with these steps. Throughout the rest of this file, the beginning of each step will start with instructions which will be preceded with a letter for the step. The step will be identified with large bold red text, given the step name and letter. A. Gathering materials. Obtain the following USPS forms. 2PS Form 3800, Certified Mail Receipt. 2PS Form 3811, Domestic Return Receipt, Green Card. 9x12 envelopes with address labels. You can use USPS priority envelopes, but they cost more. You need 2 each of these forms for each BOE you issue. It is always advisable to have extra sets of these forms so you don't have to go to the post office every time you send a bill of exchange. BOE. B. Replace tags with your data. One time. The BOE documents contain a number of variables called tags that act as placeholders for your personal data. The table below shows a list of all of these tags. The first column explains what the data should be. The second is the strings that will be replaced, the tag, and the last column is a sample of what the data might look like that you will replace the tag. You will be replacing all of the tags for the entire redemption process as you follow the steps below. Before you begin your customizing work, save a copy of this file now under a different file name. You will do this using the Save As option under the File menu, a comma. You might insert your last name or the creditor's name and the date when the file was created somewhere in the file name, e.g. Smith Visa Bowl July 21, 2003, doc. You will use the Replace facility in MS Word to search for and replace each of the strings in the replacement string column shown below. The Replace menu item can be found under the Edit menu. When you select Replace, a dialog box will open that contains a line labeled Find What, where you will enter the string you want to replace. The dialog box also contains a Replace With line where you will enter the placement string. For example, comma, if you want to replace the SSN tag, you would enter SSN in the Find What line and type your SSN on the Replace With line. Then, you would click the Replace All button. Repeat this process for each tag in the list to make sure that you have not missed any tags. Scroll to the top of this file and perform a search operation for the Find menu item is under the Edit menu. If you aren't able to locate any tags, then you have successfully replaced all tags. Once this is completed, save the file again under the new name to make sure you don't lose all your work. Description. replacement string, sample data, true name, your current full, legal name with upper and lower case letters, George Mosley Jr., John Quincy Public. Bond number from the back of your social security card will contain a letter, AN, and 8 digits, E55,020,304, E81,726,354. Your mail address, General Post Office, Sarasota, Florida 34,236,998, 100 Maple Avenue, Dallas, Texas 75,000. The state where you reside and recorded your copyright notice, Georgia, Texas. Your strawman name, which is your full name in all capital letters, George Mosley Jr., John Q. Public. Social security number, 222-28-8693, 123-45-6789. Employer exemption. Identification number, your SSN, without the dashes, 222,288,693, 123,456,789. Certified mail number you use to set up your UCC contract. Trust account with the Secretary of the Treasury. A contract num. 7001 2510 0001 3400. See create and accepted for value stamp. Create and accepted for value stamp. This stamp will be used for many bills of exchange. You will probably only need to create the stamp once rather than for each BOE that you issue. The stamp should read as follows. Non-negotiable, non-transferable chargeback, office holder, Secretary of the Treasury. I accept for value all related endorsements in accordance with UCC 3419, HJR 192, and Public Law 7310. Charge my private UCC contract trust account employer identification hash, EIN, for the registration fees and command the memory of account hash, EIN, to charge the same to the debtor's order or your order. Employer identification hash, EIN, bond hash, bond num, prepaid preferred stock priority. Exempt from levy posted. Certified account. Invoice hash date. Be sure you sign on the last blank line. We suggest that using transparency film on your computer printer. Some film is designed for laser printers and other film is designed for inkjet printers. When you make the stamp, substitute EIN for your social security number without the dashes. Substitute the bond num for the bond number found on the back of your social security card. It is one letter, followed by